Hello, I'm Alex Jardine, one of the travel specialists here at Aardvark McLeod, and today we're going to talk about the fishing in Jardines de la Reina, Cuba. Cuba's Jardines de la Reina has been at the forefront of this Caribbean islands fishing for almost 40 years. It is a one-of-a-kind fishery that offers fantastic fishing for bonefish, permit and tarpon. It's a beautiful saltwater environment. So beautiful, in fact, it was named Gardens of the Queen by Christopher Columbus when he discovered it, to honour the Queen of Spain at the time, Isabel I of Castile. The area itself is on the south coast of Cuba and covers an astonishing 2,000 square kilometres. It's protected as a national park in Cuba and is one of the largest in the country. Because of this, the wildlife, the fish and the vegetation benefit from its protective status. And very few people get the privilege to visit the area, one of which are us fortunate fly fishermen who travel to Cuba in search of the fantastic fishing on offer. So getting to Jardines de la Reina, for us from Europe, many of the flights go via Paris or Madrid, but it is also possible to go via Toronto or Montreal in Canada. Anglers can fly into a choice of airports across Cuba, including Havana, which is a great option for those looking to explore some of the culture and the history, the fascinating architecture, and add 2 or 3 nights on to do that. Or you could fly into Cuba's north coast at Cayo Coco and experience some beautiful beaches that have almost no one on them, or fly into Santa Clara. From any of these airports you can then be met and transferred to Hookeroo Port, where the Liveaboard boats that will be your home when you're on Jardines de la Reina all start their journey. Once aboard these vessels, they are all purposely built to look after anglers and also divers on separate trips. So they have multiple accommodation cabins. Some can be taken on single occupancy, some on shared, some with double bed, some with single bed, all of which are en suite. Then around the boat there's multiple communal areas so that you never feel crammed in if there's a big group of you. Spreading onto sun decks, often with jacuzzis, bar areas, restaurant and a deck to store fishing equipment so that you don't have to bring wet gear into your room every night. The staff aboard these liveaboard boats are fantastic. They look after you throughout your stay, whether it'll be the open bar and serving you margaritas, cold beer, a couple of choices of wine, to serving you a whole manner of different dishes every evening. Quite often they'll do theme nights, so you'll have meals that are based around, say, Cuban night, Mexican night, Italian night, just to keep things active and moving. The food whilst you're aboard the boat is really good too. There's a wonderful array of fresh seafood that comes in every day from the area, including lobster, fresh jacks, snapper, you name it. It's wonderful. So aside from the nice base aboard the liveaboard, really what you want to know about is how good the fishing is and what that's like. The fishing day in this part of the world is based around the optimum levels for polarizing fish. So you want high sun to really get the most out of the clear, shallow waters. So quite often you'll meet your guide at 7:30 in the morning, get on your skiff while the sun's still relatively low, and the light on the water is a little bit inky. This is a perfect time to be spotting tarpon rolling. So for maybe the first hour or so you might specifically target tarpon. Then once the sun gets a bit higher, the flats are your oyster. So you can spend the day targeting the wonderful permit fishing that's in the area, whether that be schools of smaller fish to large singles. Also the flats of varying degrees. You've got hard coral flats to marley sand flats to turtle grass. They're a perfect feeding ground for bonefish that have a really healthy average between 3 and 4 pounds. In the middle of the day, the guides will take a break, usually finding a sanctuary of a bit of shade in the mangroves where you can have lunch for half an hour, and then you'll get back out on the water for that wonderful afternoon session. Depending on the tides, you'll target lots of different fish, whether you choose to do the tarpon, the permit, the bonefish, or maybe you go a little bit further out and look to target some big snapper, jacks right on the drop-off. So the primary species whilst you're on the flats, of course, are the bonefish, which, as I mentioned, average a healthy 3 to 4 pounds, but there's a possibility of getting fish of 8, 10 or 12 pounds as well. So always be prepared with a good setup, probably an 8 weight with a 15 or 16 pound leader, just so you're geared up for when that big fish comes along. Then for your permit, they can be an opportunistic catch for some anglers, so when you're targeting either tarpon or bonefish, always have a permit rod ready because you never know when one will turn up. Or for the serious permit angler, you can spend days on end chasing this fish here. There's a whole manner of different flats that the permit love, and you can see them moving and feeding well. So if you like targeting either tailing fish or actively searching fish on open flats, this is a perfect venue for you. And on a good day, you can have upwards of sort of 10, 15 shots at permit. On a tough day, you might only get 1 or 2 shots, but they'll be good and a really good chance of hooking up. For the tarpon, there are, again, many different places where you can target. Some of them are the famous channels between the islands where you've got deeper water and big surface currents which pin bait fish in little back eddies. And this is a great way for targeting tarpon in open water. And there's a good chance of finding fish of sort of 20 to 40 pounds in these areas. But for me, the most exciting areas is to actually get in the mangroves and see what you find there. Quite often the fish are between 5 and 20 pounds, so a little bit smaller than in the open water, but you can see them just edging their way through the shadows, and a well-presented fly will often bring 2 or 3 fish hunting your fly down. And then of course, once you've hooked up, you get these fantastic jumps, good runs, and a really enjoyable fight. Aside from the main species, anglers can also target barracuda, which can be a fantastic game fish, particularly on your tarpon setup. From time to time you might encounter snook, but they're in generally very low numbers in the area. And then one of the standouts of the kind of secondary species are the big jacks that are both found on the flats but also away towards the reef edge. So the flats aren't just home for fish. In Jardines de la Reina, there's a wonderful array of wildlife to spot whilst you're out fishing, whether that be saltwater crocodiles, the bird life from ospreys to frigates, to a small rodent species that lives in the mangrove called the hoosha. And then actually under the water, there's lots of shark to spot, there's great turtle viewing. The whole Jardines de la Reina archipelago is alive with wildlife, fish, and a perfect place just to break up your fishing day between catching fish and spotting some wildlife and just taking in the beautiful surroundings. I hope this short video has given you some feeling towards the wonderful fishing and adventure you can find at Jardines de la Reina. We really hope that you get in contact to talk about possible future trips and how you might get yourself there. And I hope you've really liked this video, so please remember to like, subscribe to our YouTube channel and comment in the video below. Thank you for watching, and we hope to fish with you on the flats soon.